You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Red Moon Podcast. Oh wow, just all kinds of technical stuff. This freaking sucks. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, you're gone. Oh gosh, you're gone for 2 weeks, and it all just goes to hell.
Yeah, so a little bit of a rough start here.
Well, that's Brandon Davidson.
Yep.
I don't
Trying
know
to get
him.
my mic set. Gosh sakes.
I'll introduce you.
Welcome back, everybody. Gosh
I can
sakes.
hear you.
Yeah, now.
You're clear now.
Oh, the lights aren't even plugged in. This is just great. This is what happens when we go on vacation for 2 weeks.
Where do they get plugged in at?
They're right in here. It's right in the middle between us.
man.
I'll get it.
Okay.
I'll set. Yeah.
should-
Sean's getting it.
Should we?
All
do
three of them should
introductions?
plug into that brown cord.
I'm gonna plug.
Oh,
you
there
in.
they are.
All right.
Merry
All
Christmas,
right.
everybody.
Oh. This is all
We're
her
running
fault.
late.
This is her fault. She cursed us.
Fräulein Klaus.
She's trying to destroy the Red Moon Podcast.
She tried to take down the podcast. She knows we spread the message of her evil ways with the other Sandy Klaus.
So sorry for the delay.
Yeah.
Had some technical difficulties behind the scenes.
Hey,
then
but if
on
you're, if you're watching,
screen.
though, thank you for sticking around.
Yeah, thanks so much.
We do appreciate it because I mean we are running about almost 15 minutes behind now.
And we usually, hey,
Yeah.
we strive for perfection, okay? And we do, I will say, very rarely do we ever start late. We're usually right on the dot.
No,
at
there
9
were
o'clock.
some.
Things usually stop working once we've started already.
Yes.
Tonight it just happened before we got the chance
The
to
beauty
start.
of technology is it's great until it isn't.
Absolutely. This is how you know
Yeah.
that what they try to tell you out there, that, oh, you can depend on it, you can trust it.
Oh, yeah.
No, you can't trust big tech to tell you the truth.
That's right.
And you can't trust it to actually work when you need it to.
Nope.
So don't trust the self-driving
That's
cars.
right.
You will
Don't trust them.
die.
Don't go out and don't get that cryptocurrency. Just eschew the internet and anything.
I'm all
that's
for
just
Bitcoin, though.
Everything. Nope. That's technology.
Yeah.
No, because
When they hit us with an EMP,
tangible. We
yeah.
need
When they hit us with
tangible.
an EMP, what do you got left?
That's right.
Hey.
Yeah,
There's
that's
nobody's saying you can't
They
put.
can't EMP the gold.
Nobody's saying you can't put Bitcoin into a
We'll
gold
make
bar.
that a shirt. You can't EMP the gold.
You can't EMP gold. Exactly. Sell that on Crowder's website.
I ain't gonna lie.
He'll have a shirt.
I'd be
now.
the first one. I'll be one of the first people to try to get out of it. I'm trying now to make my way
Yeah.
off of this, out of the
Mortal
city,
coil?
out of this mortal coil. I'm trying to get out of this city, move out in the middle of nowhere off the grid.
It's bad.
I'm
Well,
telling
you
you.
know,
No, we want to thank
could
everybody.
Be worse. It could be worse.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're back live.
We are.
Obviously, you had a rerun episode, then a tape show. No, you're getting us tonight.
We're live on air. We have two
Yes.
great reviews.
We do.
Yeah.
In fact, we're running late, so we need to jump right into
Let's
it.
do that. That's
Let's
a good
get
idea.
into it. Our first big review right on the block, of course,
What are we
West
gonna
Side
do?
Story.
Okay, I didn't
We're
know.
doing that one first.
Okay,
Yeah.
Oh, but can we clarify?
Yeah, what?
Steven Spielberg's West Side Story.
That's true. It is.
West Side Story 2021.
What's that?
Just roll the review. Roll it. Tonight, I saw Spielberg's West Side Story tonight. And it was, well, West Side Story. Based on the acclaimed stage musical of the same name, which was previously adapted into an acclaimed and Academy Award-winning film in 1961, Steven Spielberg has now created a new adaptation of the play. But does he have anything new to offer in what is already considered by many to be a masterpiece? Starring Rachel Zegler as Maria and Ansel Elgort as Tony, West Side Story is a tale of two rival gangs fighting for control of a neighborhood in 1950s Upper West Side Manhattan. A modern-day retelling of Romeo and Juliet, lovers from rival gangs, with the Capulets and Montagues replaced by the white American Jets and the Puerto Rican American Sharks. With gangs poised for a fight to determine control of the neighborhood, Tony pleads for peace on behalf of Maria, hoping to create an environment in which they can be together. But anyone who knows the story of Romeo and Juliet knows there isn't a happy ending. Spielberg's new rendition of the classic musical is well made. While the original was the highest-grossing film of 1961 and winner of 10 Academy Awards, it is dated in many regards. Opting for a more direct-from-stage-to-screen adaptation of song and dance numbers, the original comes off a bit hokey at times, and I've always found it hard to believe criminal gang members twirling and prancing around the city. But the original themes are well crafted and the songs timeless. What Spielberg does well with his West Side Story is updating it for modern audiences. With better cinematography, more character development on minor characters, and better singers for the side characters too, alongside toning down the campier aspects of the dance routines while still honoring the classic choreography, as a musical, the new West Side Story looks and sounds terrific. But taking an older film and polishing it up with better production value should be a given considering the 60 years that has passed between film adaptations. Where Spielberg drops the ball, in my opinion, is offering anything new of substance to make his version feel necessary. Yes, minor characters get a little more leg room, but nothing that makes them feel any more important than they already did in the original. And in some instances, minor plot points and character building moments are unnecessarily added to the film while dropping ones from the original that actually gave weight to the scenes they were in. Examples of these are the whittling down of the War Council scene to a brief agreement in a bathroom at the dance, or additions such as making the gun in this version a bigger plot point. Many times, plot points are changed more so to reflect modern topics not present in the original, such as the change of anybody's from a tomboy to full-on transgendered. Many of these changes add nothing to the greater scheme of the film and feel more politically motivated than story-driven. While the songs are well sung, characters decently acted, and choreography well done, all Spielberg really does well in this film are the technical aspects. Some scenes shine out just as good, if not better than the original, such as the Officer Krupke routine, the iconic Tonight piece, and the gym dance scene. But if you're remaking a 10-time Oscar winner, one would hope you would nail the film's most iconic moments. As is, Spielberg's film is okay, but just doesn't do anything to make it the definitive adaptation of the play or even one worth watching over the original 1961 film. I give 2021's West Side Story 2 out of 4 stars.
2 out of 4 stars.
That's not the popular opinion.
That's 2 weeks.
Dos Astra.
Dos Astra?
That's not the,
Is that what stars are?
Astra.
Is it?
That's Latin or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Latin
I don't know what stars is in
Dos
Spanish.
Staro.
That's just racist.
Yeah, well, he's bastardizing it. on
Well,
purpose.
that's the name of that villain in Suicide Squad was Starro. So
Starro.
Starro.
Oh yeah. The main
Starro,
villain.
yeah.
No, but I would agree.
Duh.
Two out of 4 stars. I would agree with
It's
that.
it's not the common consensus, but I think it's the accurate one, despite what anyone else might say. So
Yeah.
I
I gave it 2.5.
I mean that's fair,
But that's
too.
close.
Yeah.
That's close. So it's the common consensus here.
I just don't think it's as I mean critically and I think user score on Rotten Tomatoes still fairly high. And I mean it's fine. It's West Side Story. It didn't do anything for me as far as being any better than the original. I mean, I think there are moments that he does that are better than the original, but overall it's not better.
Right.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's just the changes he did make were either unnecessary or only made because of today's climate. So,
Right. No.
That was going to be my take on it. I was just it wasn't a bad movie by any means.
Yeah.
I think Sean, you gave it 2.5, a little bit
I
better.
just said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally
so
just
I'm
right before you spoke.
Oh my gosh. You know what? It's been a night. Okay, it's been a night. But no, I think that ultimately for me, there was just the updates were fine. The refresh was okay. I'm fine with that. Spielberg doesn't disappoint there. He can still make a decent movie. It's entertaining. It keeps my attention. But altogether, I'm just I wasn't thrilled with the extra tidbits they added. I'm pretty sure that's probably the cultural praise that it's receiving.
Oh, yeah.
But again, I don't think anybody was asking for this. I don't think anybody really cared. One thing I was actually kind of wondering, seeing at the end of the credits when he says "for Dad," I didn't know if it was particularly because his dad just passed and he made, this was just for him because it was the next movie after he had just passed, or if his dad had some kind of special connection to West Side Story. But ultimately, I'm sitting here thinking, no offense to Spielberg, no offense to his dad, but I'm like, if that's the one you're going to dedicate to your father, I'm just like, of all the other movies that you've done, like, why would it be a remake? Yeah, that's the one you go out on there. But no, I just felt like what's kind of so special about this? I mean, there wasn't anything so grand and so spectacular that warranted it.
A lot of the things that I have read from some of the movie groups and stuff that we're a part of have to do with this modernization of a classic, and I didn't see any of that. I don't see the more modern take other than the couple of culturally relevant things that are that. Other than that, there's nothing modern about the movie. Now, more modern cinematography and a lot of lens flare from J.J. Abrams. I think Spielberg had JJ come on and show him how to do.
He got a little crazy with it.
There's a lot.
That is one thing. Actually, I do see some of the modernization they're talking about in the sense that, because that's one thing I appreciated, is in the sense that he did tone down some of the more goofier choreography. Like, he still has some of the classic moves and spins, but it's not as prevalent where they're prancing and dancing around the street. Because I did appreciate that, and I know some people love that, like the campy nature of the original is why some people do love it. But I never could buy these gangsters that are trying to kill each other, dancing.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's kind of goofy that they're prancing
I
around,
remember watching this for the first time, I think, in high school. And the first thing I heard was, of course, about the gang, the Jets and the Sharks.
Jets. Yeah.
And my first thought was, well, those names are that's kind of hokey. But
it's
okay,
the
all right, well,
50s.
I'll give it a try.
I could see that in the 50s, maybe.
Outsiders like, oh, I'm a greaser.
It's no more hokey than Grease.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But I was just sitting here, I'm like, well, it can't be obviously too violent because it's a musical. Yeah. But then they start the dance numbers, and again, I know it's a play. I know it's what it's based on, and that's the attraction of it when you're live in an audience somewhere. When you're seeing a motion picture, it was. I never had any special connection, even though it won 10 Academy Awards and a boatload of people praised the original. I just never cared. It was never something that stood out to me as something that was worthwhile. And so I really wasn't looking forward to this in any way, shape, or form, other than knowing it was a classic and revisiting it and maybe seeing if it could give me that impression of, this is something I'll take home and say, oh man, this is amazing. This is beautifully done. A great movie for our times and applaud it. But ultimately what I really came down to was I just didn't care. Yeah. I walked out of the theater with the same feeling.
I do like the original. Yeah. I do have problems with, like I said, I never bought them prancing around. But I mean, I did like the original, but it's not high on my list of Best Picture winners as, this is just a timeless classic. Like, I think it was good for its time, but I don't think it's a Ben-Hur or a Forrest Gump or a Saving Private Ryan. But yeah, it's just... Even the things he did do, like when it started out, I was like, okay, I'm okay with this. I kind of dug it because it was a little bit more mellowed and believable. But then it just kind of right from the beginning, as soon as they start off, you see they're tearing down the city for basically gentrification. Yep. And I was like, well, that wasn't a plot point from the original, but that's fine.
Yep.
And then it just kept going from there. And it was like all of these things added really are current cultural things that they're trying to see how bad it was in the 50s and it's still going on today, and I'm like, no, not in the same extent. It is not the same level that they try to make it out.
If anything, the terrible nature of what's going on is just more widely diversified. It's like everybody's getting crapped on equally.
Well,
everybody's
now they are. Yeah,
exactly. And but that's my point, is especially with this kind of movie and them making it particularly for those reasons. Again, that's just something we think is probably their motivation. I mean, but ultimately, you look back or you look ahead at maybe 50 years, and if they say they want to remake this again, it's like, okay, well, now how are you going to apply it?
Right.
I mean, the whole idea and the general message of the original and the play itself is, yes, it's maybe, we don't necessarily need to hear it right now, Maybe some would argue we do, but ultimately it's the tried and true message of, hey, you accept anybody from whatever background there are, from wherever they're from, and you give people a chance, and you try to come to some common ground. Yeah. And it's kind of letting old wounds heal and kind of not letting things, bubble up to the surface
is that what
take
the
over.
message was? I thought the message was that when you go to a fight, you just have an honest, fair fist fight. You don't bring knives.
That's it.
Okay.
No, that's a central
it's
message.
like the honorable thing is to obey the rules set, but
That's true. Yeah,
obviously
absolutely.
they don't do that.
No.
In neither version.
No.
Though I like the way
but
the original version handled it.
The gun
better.
is definitely a bigger piece in this film than
they've put way more focus
original.
on a gun in this than in the original.
Why would they do that?
So there's, there of course, and we don't have to go into it too much, just to keep it less political. But obviously, in the original film, there's a tomboy.
Yeah, anybody's.
Yeah, and it's just that she's a tomboy. She's a tomboy, but she's still a she. And in this film, obviously, they had to make her non-binary / or trans or whatever.
Yeah, they heavily hint that she's
so. But and of course, by the end of the movie, they acknowledge that she is a boy.
Well, they try to in the sleight of hand.
Yeah, and see that's what pisses me off about it.
Yeah,
if you're gonna deliver that message, go all in and deliver it. Don't say don't use a phrase like "buddy boy."
That line's in the original.
I know that,
and that's
but still they specifically catered the whole thing around that line.
Yes,
so that they could say, "Well, are they acknowledging her as a boy?" Or as one of the Jets, or are they
in the original? It's meant to be like, okay, you're finally part of the gang.
You're finally one of the gang, yeah.
But in this they definitely twisted to make it the we acknowledge you as.
I was gonna say when they show a close up of her on her face when he says it, and then she's smirking like, "Now I belong."
Because in the original,
it's not "I belong" as part of the gang.
Yeah, it's you saying that magically made me grow up.
Yes. And it wouldn't. It also wouldn't have as big, I think, an effect in that moment had the scene in the jail cell not taken place prior to that.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole exchange of her showing her toughness, but one of the guys specifically even uses the word biological as an insult.
He does.
And I'm just like sitting here and I'm like, how more exactly. Yeah. How much more pointless how much more pointed can we get?
But that's exactly what you're saying though. It actually shows them making fun of her and pointing
wanting
out
to be a dude,
right? Yeah, they definitely and not just in that situation, but even the back and forth between the Jets and the Sharks. Like, I mean, they don't hold anything back with the racial slurs and with some of the jabs back and forth.
And I mean, that makes sense.
I agree with that. It's like, don't leave that out of there. That's how they would have spoken to each other back then.
Yeah, I was fine with that.
Sugarcoat it.
I was fine with that.
And then they go and flip things around and try to make it more 2021, and I'm just like, you can't don't go from one thing to the other. If you're going to be true
was the
to
whole
it,
point.
then be true to it.
The whole point was that, again, and this is that blending of the realities of the past and the history we do know with what is now being directed, in the fashion of, hey, we're going to lace everything we make with this kind of narrative to showcase. I mean, even a remake of a 1950s classic into modern day, and they keep most of everything the same. They update the visuals, but all of they don't try to make it seem like, oh, it's set today, and they dress old-fashioned. No, it's still set during that time period, and yet it's still funny how, so you're going to set it in this place and in this time, but you're going to make these modern-day issues out of something that wasn't back then.
Right.
But those people existed. If they existed, they weren't on any kind of pedestal, and if you're trying to deliver that pedestal as saying, but they were still around, you don't know that. Just like there's 50 years from now, there may be some issue at the forefront that wasn't ever considered because you weren't paying attention to it then because it wasn't an issue. Yeah. And some issues don't last beyond a generation because they're not really issues.
Right. 50
and
years
that's
from
the
now, people will identify as trees. And they'll go back and be like, well, no, in 2021, they've always been trees.
But I really do think
the happening.
Unfortunately, that's really where the praise for this film is coming. Is again, it's a recreation of a classic in a modern telling, but it's adding in those cultural relevances that ultimately are making, I think, most critics ecstatic for why it was created, and to have someone like Spielberg, who is so cemented in American cinema, be the one to tell that story.
Well, it's kind of funny that Spielberg hasn't done anything of significance in what?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I mean, like a couple years.
I mean, he releases
A couple years. What was the last thing?
Well,
Yeah,
he
he's-
did Ready Player One. He did.
Yeah.
I mean, Lincoln is good. I mean,
Yeah, that's-
he
Warhorse
releases
isn't.
something every few
He
years,
does.
but
I'm
none of
just
it.
saying.
But,
BFG wasn't
but I was gonna say
good.
the last decade, like, he releases something every couple years, but the last decade
think Ready
has
Player
not
One-
been very great. Well,
Well,
Ready
here-
Player
well,
One was
was it-
okay.
but no, was
We gotta
that the-
say
was that the
Ready
last-
Player One isn't any kind of a historical significance. It's not. It's
Yes.
a completely fictional
It's just
story.
an okay
It doesn't have.
blockbuster,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
It's not anything that he could make and throw.
But
Things
Ready-
that are
even-
going on
even-
today
right.
into that and try to make a
he
a
could've.
statement. Well, they always
we
can.
did a little bit.
I was gonna say with the
like,
avatars and them being
But-
different people.
but that did come from the book.
What-
so-
and here's
Well,
the
yeah,
thing.
it comes with VR in general.
But it also, I
but-
think a lot of people who would have criticized that movie would have picked it apart and saying that, okay, Ready Player One was not only based on a novel, but it was also him trying to bring his love for the 80s and the nostalgia of the 80s into a movie. And the thing is the book is kind of more a nostalgia trip of all nerd culture, not
Yeah,
just the 80s.
not just the 80s,
And
yeah.
and I think that ultimately, while that was fine and that movie was okay, yeah, the cultural significances and even the emotional attachment you have with those characters are not the same that I have with Jurassic Park,
No,
which was
or
also a
Jaws.
huge blockbuster,
Yeah.
and Jaws. But it's like these are intimate stories told around a group of people that I connect with when they're in terms of their humanity. It has nothing to do with their identity.
Ultimately, I mean, I agree with all of that. I don't think, like I said, that the last decade he's not made anything that I feel
Of
like
huge
is very
significance.
impactful, and that's how I felt. Like even outside of
Lincoln's probably the only one
yeah,
that comes to mind.
2012,
that-
and that would be the last one I think that was impactful.
It's almost 10 years
That's a
ago.
decade.
Yeah, almost a decade.
That's what I'm saying.
And,
It's been a
and,
decade.
and the
Yeah,
same thing
it's
with this movie.
crazy.
Like even outside of any political stuff or the current climate, even if you like ignore that stuff in this movie, what is still in the movie, I just didn't feel was impactful, especially compared to the original. Like I said in the review, like they cut the War Council scene from the drugstore to just being in the bathroom, and they took away all of that weight because that's when Tony originally comes in and convinces them, no, don't use weapons.
Yep.
This should just be a one-on-one fight between our two best fighters. And I mean, they kind of took away the significance there. I didn't care for. I mean, I understand why Rita Moreno was in this movie because she was the most famous person in the original.
Yep.
But even changing Pops, who was the white drugstore owner, to her, I was like, why would they even go there if it's a Puerto Rican? And I know in the movie she says, "Well, I'm married to
She's married
gringo,
to a white guy,
so now
yeah.
they accept me as one." But I'm like, I don't buy that. Here they are
They
trying
never
to kill
did
each other.
throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
None of them
No.
acted like they acted like she was okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm just like, why would they hang out at her store like this, knowing she's Puerto Rican? Like, it didn't fit the movie to
No,
me.
no.
And
So
that along with, I hate to say it, but another forced thing to, I guess, shove in the Me Too message, the whole rape scene or almost rape scene at the end. I thought that was a little forced.
They went
Yeah.
further than the original. did
Yeah,
with
I
that,
just
yeah.
felt like them kind of bullying her around was enough. But of course, they show the women outside beating on the door, screaming to get, tell them to stop.
yeah.
And the guys are the ones who choose not to stop. And I'm just like, how many cultural stereotypes can we fit against the white, the white man in this movie
Yeah, well,
and
not
shove
only
that down
the
people's
police
throats?
were corrupt and bad through most of the movie.
They
At
did-
least
they did have the one
at least
guy.
the main
Crumb-
detective was.
Krupke?
Krupke was the
he
police
was,
officer.
yeah, he was
Yeah,
actually
he was
decent,
okay,
though.
yeah.
They actually didn't.
Um,
Which
they
was
actually,
my favorite scene in the whole movie was the police
jail
station.
scene?
Krupke
Jail
song.
scene.
I love that song
that.
from the. That's one of my favorite scenes from the original, and I was glad. I felt like he did it justice in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do agree that was really well done.
and I liked even kind of the explanation of that song. I told Keith, I said they actually kind of make the cop look like a better person because it's like they make it look like they go to him first and then it kind of goes full circle around all of these different professionals.
Yeah.
Well,
and
that's-
then it lands back into his lap as his fault. And I'm
that's-
like, that's kind of a nice way of saying like, hey, we're not blaming you. You got enough to deal with when you come firsthand into
Yep.
these messes.
Yep.
And I actually
Well,
like that.
and also
theme.
the whole point of the song is also that, and like with the original and this one is kind of that they are still responsible for their own actions, and I love that. It's like, well, we get passed around to this and say it's because of his upbringing. No, it's because he has a psychological problem. No, it's because he's just no good. And I love that because it's like you're right. Some like they keep passing all these people around, and that's very prevalent I think today. Where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, pull him out of prison, he don't belong there, or put him in the nut house because that's where he belongs. And it's like
Right.
sometimes it's like sometimes they're just bad people,
Yeah.
and they should be held responsible for their actions.
Well, and that's why I like the woman's reaction at the end of the scene, or,
Yeah.
or even in the middle of the scene
Well, when
before they
she's looking
start.
at him like, "What's
she
wrong
looks
with
at him and she goes into that room by herself and locks the door. Like, I don't want to be bothered by you all. You bunch of like,
juvenile delinquents.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, overall, I just didn't think this left a lasting impression, not like the original did.
No.
I know it's getting some Oscar talk, but I just really don't see it being.
Not just Oscar talk.
Oh, I
Now
know.
Golden Globe nominated.
Well, we all know how reliable the Golden Globes
Yeah.
have proven themselves the last several years. So.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that
I
a little
know,
bit.
I
But you
know.
know what is making a lasting impression on me?
Not this movie because it's not getting a.
Not this movie.
Next movie, though.
But there was another movie from start to finish.
for all the wrong reasons. Well, yeah, we got to get into our holiday review.
We do.
Yeah.
So we are keeping up, of course, Naughty Christmas. So this is our second review in the Naughty Christmas series. Not that kind of naughty. Just,
And
I've been calling it Not So Merry.
hey, I kind of
probably-
like that.
I probably ruined it because all of my posts have been about Not So Merry Christmas movies, and y'all are calling it Naughty Christmas.
Yeah, the
It's
naughty
naughty,
Christmas.
yeah.
Naughty Christmas.
I didn't get that memo.
I kind of like the Not So Merry.
I like them both.
Because naughty
Yeah.
does make you think of like
I think the first
nasty
time we
Santa.
mentioned it being Naughty Christmas was on last week's show, which was recorded like 2 weeks ago. So that might be why it's kind of
Maybe.
yeah.
It happens. It
Let's
happens.
get to that one.
Yeah,
What's that?
let's do that.
Yeah, here's our review of The Gingerdead Man.
Everyone loves Christmas traditions, warm and cozy by a fire with hot cocoa and holiday treats, and one such holiday tradition for many is that of building and decorating gingerbread houses and gingerbread men. Yes, gingerbread has long been associated with Christmas, and perhaps that is why Full Moon Features' The Gingerdead Man appears on so many lists of Christmas horror films, despite it really not having anything to do with Christmas. Yes, we continue our naughty Christmas theme with a movie from the legends of B-movie filmmaking themselves, Full Moon Features, a company whose biggest claim to fame is the Puppet Master series. Directed by Charles Band himself, the founder and CEO of Full Moon Features. That's right, they brought out the big guns for Gingerdead Man. The movie tells the story of Millard Findlemeyer, a sociopath played by the legendary Gary Busey. Yes, Gary Busey is a killer gingerbread man, who is finally caught in a diner after a killing spree and sentenced to death for his murders. Sarah, played by Robin Sidney, is the only survivor of the diner Millard was caught in, and is haunted by his last words of revenge. And when she mysteriously receives a batch of ginger spice, which she uses to make a gingerbread man, she brings to life something sinister. Gingerdead Man, as with most of Full Moon Features films, leans into the fact that it is a B-movie. But just acknowledging your movie is terrible isn't enough to save it from how terrible it is. While obviously a puppet cookie voiced by Gary Busey running around killing people is hilarious and meant to be played for laughs, there honestly isn't enough done with the character to make it memorable or fun. Full of cliches, stereotypes, and horrendous acting, the movie does offer some genuine laughs with how bad it is, which is the normal allure of B-movies for those who have fun watching them. The problem with Gingerdead Man, though, is outside of its promising premise, it's rather dull. Movies like The Room, Troll 2, and Toxic Avenger are so over the top and ridiculously bad, you want to watch them over and over to laugh at them. Sadly, even Gary Busey isn't enough to propel Gingerdead Man into that status that it's so ridiculous and bad it's pure fun. The movie honestly focuses too much on its normal characters, trying to give depth to bland cliches you don't care about. When truthfully, we all know we're here to see Gary Busey's hijinks. And if the movie had let Busey and his evil gingerbread character truly run wild, it may have been one worthy of best worst film status, such as The Room and Troll 2. Luckily, there are multiple sequels to Gingerdead Man, so maybe audiences are treated to more Busey madness in them. As is, Gingerdead Man, just like Santa's Sleigh, is a fun concept with nowhere to go and nothing to offer. I give Gingerdead Man 1 out of 4 stars.
Oh, one
Just
out
one?
of 4
only gave it one.
stars.
Man,
It's a terrible movie.
I would go 2 on that just for
Yeah.
the entertainment value.
Just for the entertainment value?
I couldn't.
It
Oh,
was
I love
more
it.
entertaining than West Side Story.
It was. I agree.
I
but
will say
I
that.
couldn't, and I love it, but for all the wrong reasons. So I'm just like,
It's a bad movie.
I recommend
I can't
if you
believe it.
love watching bad B movies, this is
Yes.
definitely one
Here's
worth
the one
watching.
thing
yeah.
it definitely got right. it was only an hour and 10 minutes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It was not too long.
Here's my
I
thing.
literally watched it, and by the time it was over, I was like, that was the right length.
I think I would have bumped it up another star for entertainment value if they had done more with Gary Busey and the Ginger.
Yes.
That was the problem.
Yeah.
I was like, they spend so much so much time on the movie about these characters that you really don't care about and they're terrible actors that I'm like, just give me Gary Busey voicing this gingerbread puppet killing people.
Yeah.
Well, and they tease you like they did with Santa's sleigh. It's like they have all these A-listers at the beginning of that movie, and then in this one you have Gary Busey in the very first 5 minutes, and then you only hear his voice the rest.
And that's fine.
And I'm fine.
I knew that would probably be the case.
I wanted to hear more of his voice as a Gingerdead Man.
Yeah, because it spends like there's literally scenes where it's like 10 minutes of just them sitting in a room talking to each other. And I'm like, when's he gonna kill somebody?
Yeah.
What's the Gingerbread Man doing right now?
And that was the other thing.
It's a very small bakery. It's they're stuck in this bakery, which is very tiny. So I'm like, this small bakery, he's got to be in here somewhere.
Yeah, and I never saw what's keeping them from leaving.
Nothing.
There was nothing keeping them from leaving that building.
She makes an excuse that, well, if we leave, then he'll get out in the open. It's like,
so what?
Yeah, they don't care. It's like, then go tell the cops there's a Gingerdead Man running around.
Exactly.
But no, it's also just the fact that even the kills, there were only like one or two that I thought were okay.
Yeah.
But like the kill with the car, I'm just like, come
dumb.
on, that's dumb.
then
I wanted
his
more
daughter-
like bakery. I mean, again, that's what Santa's sleigh got right. Like the first few kills
the over-the-top
were
kills.
over the top, and they were also like very theme centric, like Christmas centric, and it worked out beautifully.
I was gonna say the reactions to the deaths too. Like
Yes.
that guy gets hit by the car and killed, and his daughter comes out there and she's like, "Daddy!" And then she looks at him, she's like, "Okay," and she just leaves.
Yeah.
Like she didn't care. I was like, "Your dad just got hit," and she was like, "I'm sorry, Dad," and then she just walks off.
She literally walks up to him on the
Maybe it
car
was
and
her
she goes,
stepdad.
"I miss you, Dad."
Yes,
and then she walks
And then
away.
she walks away. I was like, "That's it. That's like your dad just got murdered." You're just like, "I'll miss you."
Yeah.
And then the same thing. Like I don't want to spoiler alert, I guess, but there's a scene at the end where like one of their friends is like possessed, and they don't even give two thoughts about killing their. They're just like, "Oh, he's possessed. Let's just kill him." And I'm like. And I understand maybe you come to the conclusion that's the only thing you can do, but they don't even talk it out. Like, well, we don't want to kill.
Yeah,
our
we
friend.
just got to.
Yeah, they're just like, let's murder this guy.
We just got to jump to the conclusion.
It was hilarious. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I would agree. One out
guys,
of 4
stars. If I get
it was worth a
possessed-
watch. No, if you get possessed, we're
Just kill
killing
me.
you.
Just
No,
kill me.
we're gonna keep you like restrained, but we're gonna watch what you do. It's kind of fun.
If I'm possessed by Gary Busey, you have my permission to do that.
Yeah. We also found out that there are 3 or 4 more of these? Are there 3 more?
Oh,
There's several.
There's a
of
whole
these.
series.
Yeah, there's several of
Yeah.
these, and then there's an Evil Bong series
Yeah.
that it crosses over with, and then they make a spin-off called The Gingerweed Man. So
Full Moon Pictures, not to be confused
Yeah.
with Red Moon Productions. Just saying,
Yeah.
you can be looking for us and Full Moon Pictures.
it's
They have a whole. You said you
Tubi has a whole segment. He looked at it. I was like, it's
a
on
whole
Tubi.
section
Of
for
Full
Full Moon
Moon
Pictures.
features.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Well, it's
Features.
It's
I'm
both.
sorry.
Like, not to correct you, but depending on what time period and when you look it up, it is. It's both.
They changed it.
They changed their name several times. It's hilarious. Charles
They keep going bankrupt.
Charles Band, the guy who founded it, actually directed this movie. I thought that was hilarious too, because when I saw his name, I was like, "That's the guy that created Full Moon Features." He actually directed this one himself.
You're a
so-
fan. Don't lie.
Oh, I've seen. Well,
Absolutely.
I was a fan. My grandfather loved the Puppet Master series, and these are the
Yeah.
same people that make those.
Those movies are,
And
at least the first and
Yeah,
second
the first.
one.
I think like the first 3 are decent.
Yeah.
And I do like those movies, and they get off the wall later on too. So I already knew like where this company came from.
Did he have anything to do with those? Did he create those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. He was legitimate. Like the Ghoulies movie, he produced.
Oh,
like,
that's not bad either.
And then his company, like I forget what the company was called then, but it went bankrupt, and he founded Full Moon Features, and then he changed the name of it a few times.
So he's got some talent.
Well, he had deals with Paramount, Universal, like he had deals with bigger companies to make cheap B movies that they would distribute before he finally kind of went on his own.
a lot of puppets.
So yeah,
A lot of puppets used.
what-
I mean,
there's-
Ghoulies is puppets.
there's
Puppet
another-
Master's puppets.
there's another big
Obviously,
one, and I can't think of
The
what it was. that
Gingerdead
he
Man
did.
was a puppet.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny too because I remember in the credits they specifically have like a special thanks to I guess whoever the creator of the I
It's like
forget what they
special
call
thanks
them.
to this guy's hand.
Yeah,
For,
but
for going up this.
well, it was funny because like you pointed out, like it doesn't look like any of the promotional
Oh
material.
no!
Like it doesn't.
No, there's
I mean,
actually the one that you just had up on our feed.
screen. Yeah.
It is completely different than the one that I saw online when I
Yeah.
when I looked at the movie, because the one that I saw actually does look like Gary Busey in the face, and it has his teeth and everything.
Well, I think they
and
tried to
never
in the movie. They try to make it look kind of like Gary Busey, but it doesn't. I mean, it's terrible. And even when
even the
like,
transformation,
it looks like Clone Willy is what it looks like.
I was watching her make that. And granted, in the movie, like this bakery's going out of business, and I was watching her make this gingerbread cookie, and like the cookie cutter's all bent. It's huge, and it's all bent up and distorted. And I'm like, no wonder y'all are going out of business. Your equipment's all
crappy cookies.
It's and there's so much inaccuracy. Like I was saying to you all, like when he shoots, it's a revolver that holds 6 bullets, and he shoots it 17 times without reload. Like I counted. I went back and counted because I was laughing so hard. I was like, wow, how many times is he going to shoot this revolver? So it is a lot of fun though, for as bad as it is.
It's worth a watch just for obviously if you're going for the B movie.
I will say this
alone.
It is not this. I know this. Like we reviewed it for Christmas. A lot of like horror Christmas lists have it on there. It's really not a Christmas.
It's not.
movie.
No. You could watch it anytime.
I think it's
apparently Gingerbread Men are kind of an all year thing.
Yeah,
because this had nothing.
If you're in the mood, why not?
I know. Yeah, typically Gingerbread Men and houses are related to Christmas, and I guess that's why it's on so many Christmas horror lists. But yeah, it has nothing to do with Christmas.
So that was our ignorance. Plus, it was our ignorance that we called it the Gingerbread Man.
We did.
Yeah, that was
instead of the Gingerdead Man.
We looked up.
None of us looked it up.
We looked up Christmas horror movies online to figure out what we wanted to review.
It was on there.
It was on there, so that's not our fault. That's every other list.
Alrighty, guys. I think we're ready to move on.
I think we
with the show to our headlines for this week. So yes, let's roll. That beautiful open.
Yep.
Headlines. Let's talk about some movies.
Movie
news. Okay, guys.
Got some crazy things in the headlines.
Yeah, we do.
Like,
a little bit.
How much no one cares about West Side Story.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was bringing it back to. It was like more bashing of West Side Story. So I kind of wanted to generalize it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's a broader topic that kind of just revolves around remakes in general and lack of originality, which has been the talk of, I don't know, the last 2 decades maybe.
Yeah.
Because really, that's what I think is the ultimate story behind the abysmal performance that West Side Story did.
There's just
at the box
no
office.
interest. It's like, okay, we've seen this before. It was the highest grossing movie of the year it came out. It won 10 Academy Awards. Why do we need to see it again?
Yeah. I mean, well, especially why? Okay, this is what's going to royally piss me off. Fine if it's West Side Story, and I'm sure there's other fans out there who feel as I do about Lord of the Rings Return of the King about West Side Story.
Oh, yeah.
But if you try to remake Lord of the Rings, and some people would say, come on, that's a classic. And it's like, you see what they're doing already?
Yeah.
Who knows in 30 years if they try?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sorry,
Any
but
of them.
is it necessary? Is it needed?
The moment I realized anything could be remade is when they decided to remake Ben-Hur. I was like, okay, if you remake an 11-time winning, like that movie is already so timeless. Like, what are you going to do other than update the special effects? It's like, they have no shame.
They took what, like a 3.5 hour long epic,
and turned it into like a 2 hour
turd. Yes.
Well, you know how they did that? They took Jesus out of it.
True.
I mean, he's very rarely in the remake.
Yeah, they don't focus on that part because the original title is Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ.
Yeah,
and they kind of omit that part of it, or at least
Hollywood
make it
likes to take Christ out of things. So.
That's true.
Yeah,
we're putting the Christ back in Christmas. I hate when church signs say that. I'm just saying, it's tacky. Don't do it.
I agree. Just because I'm like. I get it, but at the same time, I'm just like, Christ. Every time I see that, I say, Christ.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, come on, you can't. I mean, you can't.
Christmas. I mean, I know Christ is in Christmas, but it's not pronounced that way.
But here's the thing. So the Variety article that I'll link to in the notes, specifically, it's kind of funny because you can tell they're kind of downplaying the idea that people don't want to go see it, or that, they're saying that really that Spielberg made a deal to have this in theaters longer passing the holiday season because the age group that they believe are going to be very interested are not rushing out right at the beginning of a launch of a movie, but also because of COVID.
Yes.
And the Omicron variant even now sparking worries that the really older crowd that they think this is going to appeal the most to aren't rushing out to go see this. But over the few coming weeks and next maybe couple of months, that could change.
This is my favorite line in the whole article.
Yeah, go ahead. I
says-
think I know which one.
I doubt it. This says, since musicals have been struggling at the box office
Yes.
in COVID times,
Yeah.
what musicals?
Yeah.
There hasn't been other.
Well,
Hamilton was streaming, and the
In
other
the Heights.
stupid In the
In
Heights.
the Heights,
was
but that was a
streaming.
bad movie. Tick Tick Boom's another one, but I mean, it's not been a huge. I think
Has that
was-
been in theaters?
No, that's what I'm
No,
saying.
that's what I'm saying.
Like none of these movies have been in theaters except for in the Heights, and it wasn't
Yeah.
very good. So
Yeah. So what's struggling
and, well, I
musicals
thought-
besides
here-
West Side
I was gonna say
Story?
another article I had read had talked about. While I think this is funny, they talked about basically it wasn't woke enough. Like it didn't do enough, and that yes,
It's always the
yes.
problem.
And I'm like, no, I don't think that's why
Where-
people
I
you know
blame
who
it
that
on
is? Who wrote
millennials
that?
and their cell phones.
Yeah.
So I blame it
Yeah.
on
All right,
Yeah.
Ridley.
effing millennials and their effing cell phones.
And it's funny all the excuses they make. I was like, first of all, you released it like, and it's not that people don't want to go. I mean, maybe you could say older people don't want to go back to the theater, but I mean, Spider-Man opening this week already is breaking like all kinds of like records and like is sold out. So it's like I don't think people are terrified of going back to the box office as much as they say they are. Otherwise, these other movies wouldn't be making
We got our
money.
tickets 2 weeks ago, and we had trouble getting our tickets.
Yeah, they were already almost sold
already
out when
sold
we
out.
got them.
Yeah.
So
Well, and they are talking about they brought up the point that musicals tend to not do well when they first release. It takes a little bit of staying power for them to generate that
Word of
income
mouth.
and word of mouth.
Yeah.
And they do bring up some notable
Yeah.
exceptions. That started out poorly. 2017's The Greatest Showman, also released
Yeah.
in December. It started out with 8.8 million. It went on to gross. What are they saying here? Almost 436 million globally. So, I mean, they are hoping, obviously, for that big push. But here's the other problem is I also think that we've, in previous years, and this is something that COVID did affect the theaters on, but it wasn't because, it was people not wanting to go to the theaters. It was ultimately because I think producers and production companies were too hesitant to put out movies in theaters. So you have a backlog and a huge catalog of movies that have to come out at the end of the year to try to either make Oscar buzz because they don't want to push it off another year.
Yep.
And they already know that Marvel's come out swinging and every single thing they've put out on the block has pretty much been a blockbuster and brought in money. Maybe not as previous years, but you got to start sometime. And they're thinking, hey, why... and granted, this is a Walt Disney Studios movie
Yeah,
because they bought 20th
Fox,
Century
yeah.
Fox. So you have to wonder. It's like, okay, if that's the angle you're going with and you're going to put this out in a time of the year, why would you wait till December when you have Spider-Man, The Matrix,
Kingsman.
Sing 2, The Kingsman?
Kingsman, yeah.
And I'm like, you have these huge franchises that are coming out, and then you also have a kids family-friendly film like Sing 2 coming out.
That's gonna be huge.
And you're telling me that you're going to be able to compete with that? No.
Yeah,
No.
I think.
No.
I think
Another f-
when
oh,
they,
go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, I think when they released it was ignorant, and I was also just going back to the one point because I do get what they're saying with The Greatest Showman, but The Greatest Showman had great word of mouth.
Oh,
So of
yeah.
course it picked up. Here's the thing: I know they're like, well, it's a musical, so maybe it'll do better later. But it's like, will it? Because it really depends on how people perceive this movie, and if it doesn't have the same word of mouth, it may not.
Well, and that's what they're hoping on.
And
And granted, that's something we
I was gonna
don't know
let you
yet.
say
We
whatever.
don't know.
No,
But
I
I'm
was
sorry,
I
yeah,
was
go
just
ahead.
going to bring up Ghostbusters and the fact that this article definitely says that people around the age of 40 are the ones that are not getting out because of COVID. But you take a movie like Ghostbusters, which is a direct sequel to a movie that came out almost 40 years ago? 30 years ago. And it's like the older crowd came out to see that movie because they saw the original. So they came out to see Ghostbusters. So I just don't agree with the fact that the older generations are not coming out to see West Side Story. It's probably because they know it didn't need a remake, so why go see it? I'll just stay home and watch my VHS of the original.
Right. Yeah, no, I would completely, I can understand that. And plus, yeah, I
don't
just
think age has anything to do with it.
No.
I mean, when we went to the theater to see it, there was a lot of, in fact, in the theater that me and my wife were in, there were several people, not only our age, but much older, And that's why I'm just like,
when we
they're
went
not.
to see it, there were quite a few older people because I
Yeah,
remember
I just
passing
don't-
2 old ladies when we were going into the theater. There were a few older people too. So.
Well, and I do. That's why I think it's a farce, and they may have some updated or some numbers to prove this. I mean, they throw a few statistics out about females going and making it more popular, especially with The Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
And they actually do throw out some percentages. But obviously, the percentages of who's going right now, they have a general broad understanding of that probably since July. When theaters really started opening back up, but even beyond that, it's really more of a question of, I think, word of mouth that we don't know, and ultimately the slate that it's up against. And they also say in this article that maybe there's a chance that because it gets some award buzz, it could stimulate some, argument for, hey, that's worth going and checking out. But I don't think that that's made a huge impact.
No,
I mean, you look
not
at
in recent years.
No,
The
because
Oscar
nobody
winners
watched.
have been bad movies,
And
It's
look
like
at
people
who
know that
watches
now.
award shows.
Yeah.
The audience numbers have gone down almost
Insane.
by half every year for the last decade.
Last year, look at all the polls they did where they asked people how many of the movies nominated they had seen, and most people hadn't seen any of the movies. So
No.
it's like, yeah, just because it's nominated for Academy Award doesn't mean it's going to bring in success anymore. And I mean, and they could be right. Maybe being a musical, it does pick up like next month or the month after. But we still have a lot of movies coming, and it's like I don't know, because there's so many
Dude.
big movies. It's like,
After next weekend,
yeah.
I don't think
No.
anybody's
It's like-
gonna
it's
see
like-
that
and-
movie
and-
again.
Well, I was going to say,
And
you
people can't
literally have
see.
Matrix and Spider-Man to go see in the next 2 weeks. Who's going to remember West Side Story?
Yeah.
Even in a month.
Well, not even that. Like, there's so many other movies, like we were talking about. We can't see everything in the same weekend, so it's like these several weeks. It's like you might see Spider-Man, then Matrix, and then you might have to wait the next week to see Kingsman because it comes out the same time as Matrix. You might have to wait a week to see some other smaller movies like Nightmare Alley or Licorice
I do
Pizza.
like this one particular paragraph that it says in here too. It says, however, some box office pundits believe that today's audiences do not share the same affinity towards the Romeo and Juliet-esque tale. This is a story about an interracial romance. Once upon a time, that was rare and remarkable. Not anymore.
Yeah.
For moviegoers, context may have caught up with this film, however well it is made. And that's exactly what I think we were kind of talking about within our review.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily, regardless of the cultural relevances that easily, perk your ears and, you kind of are like, oh, okay, I see why they added that.
Yeah.
It has no other relevance other than a story that is so old. I mean, hell, I'd rather just see another retelling of Romeo and Juliet. But
Yeah.
again, most people, if you ask them that, would say, why do we need to see that? We've got thousands of versions of it, and it's probably performed as plays all over the place. And I'm like, you're right. So why do we need to see that with West Side Story?
Yeah.
It'd be the same exact question.
They still perform West Side Story, the play, on Broadway, and so I think they did a run of it in 2020. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, there's people know the story, we've seen it a million times, and Spielberg's version didn't do anything to stand out or make it a definitive edition.
I mean, the whole idea of this Romeo and Juliet, like these lovers from two different worlds coming together, I mean, because of movies like The Shape of a Fish Stick, I think we've transcended that. Like,
That's
this,
true.
Yeah, I agree. This is
Why do we need
this isn't relevant
interracial
anymore.
relationships? We need a Romeo
we
and
have
Juliet.
bestiality
Yes.
now.
Yes.
We need
So-
interspecies Romeo and Juliet.
Well, Shape of Water.
Sean was talking
The
about
Shape of
being
Water,
all
that's
us
the
all
name of the
being.
movie.
No, it's Shape of Fish Sticks.
Oh yeah. Fish dicks, not fish sticks.
What did she do? Yeah,
You got that right. Just want to make sure.
She was like,
I want to make sure we.
no,
No, I thought she did like the whole like.
Yeah, no, that's more like what it
I
was.
think it was like that.
It kind of reminded me of that old. What was that old kids thing? It's like have your hands like
This is the tower,
church. This is the steeple, and then open it up, and here's all the people.
Yeah,
That's
I don't even know how to do
what it
it.
is. That's
I don't
what
know how to
it
do
is.
It's open the doors and
What
here's
are-
the fish stick.
Yeah.
Stupid movie.
Well, I just love Octavia Spencer's reaction because I'm like, it wouldn't be that. It would be like, oh wow, I didn't know it worked like. And then as soon as she turns around,
She
be
was
like,
into it.
white bitch is crazy.
Yeah.
That's what she would have said.
Yeah.
That's exactly what she would have said, and rightfully so. Over there screwing a fish man.
Yeah. I'm just like, this is really weird.
Yeah.
But no, here's the general question overall though with this topic really is, I mean, okay, we've always had the age-old argument of originality is dead, but is this just progressively proving it? I mean, most people would even say with the Marvel films, and we've talked about how we're all looking forward to Spider-Man, but the last two, Marvel releases have not been the most, fantastic. Shang-Chi was fine.
No, I love Shang-Chi.
I mean, even Black Widow was okay. It was kind of more of the same. But then you look at what just came out with Eternals, which was garbage, and I'm just like, okay, you can only have so much staying power, and yes, those are original tales that are told with human nature perspectives that are timeless, and they're trying to weave certain new ones in there or tell new stories. But now that we've had the Avengers, we've had the Infinity Saga, and it's kind of like, okay, are we ready to move on from even those, move on into something else? But especially with something in the poor, abysmal performance that West Side Story has had in the box office, if it doesn't rebound, is it really sending the message of, we're tired of the crap that you're putting out, and then when you do put it out, you either try to shove some kind of political message down our throats, and ultimately it just proves that you have to try to take something that was great in its heyday and try to make it relevant for today's audience just to sell tickets.
Yeah.
So you almost feel like you're being played. I mean, what is left? I mean, should we garner for more remakes, or should we just leave them as be and create new things?
Yeah. And Disney's version is to just make live action of everything.
Yeah.
Everything that they've created that's amazing. Let's just make it with real people.
I just rewatched The Lion King cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
And from the
that's
very
great. Yeah.
beginning, I'm just like, how did they ever think they were going to top this? I mean, it's a classic in and of itself, but even just the way the story, and trust me, there are shot for shot, instances that are the exact same.
Yeah.
From the CGI version versus the cartoon.
Yeah.
And yet there's also no heart, no actual real life message in the CGI version. It is just god awful.
There's a couple of them. Beauty and the Beast. It's like, I mean, that was nominated. That was the first animated film ever nominated for an Academy, like Best Picture, and it's like, yeah, we can make a live action of that. It'll be good. Like, there's some of them that I'm just like, why? Why even bother?
Yeah.
Same thing with
Aladdin was terrible too.
Yeah, Aladdin was terrible.
I forgot about that one.
And that's actually one of my favorite Disney movies.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where I agree. Hollywood's originality really has gone to hell. They don't have any. You do keep getting a lot
It's
of
gone to the west side, not the wayside.
Ooh.
Well, that's why I do
Dad
look forward.
joke.
That's why I do look forward to like Wes Anderson's films. I mean, yes, they're all the same as far as being Wes Anderson, but they're unique from anything else like made by other people. I look forward to things like Kingsman, because while this is the third film in that series, it was an original property, and Matthew Vaughn has made all of them, and I mean, they've been entertaining. I look forward to Belfast, because that is original, and that's actually been getting a lot of praise, and that is, I think, one of the only.
I just got the screener of that the other night.
Yeah,
so
I do too. I told Brandon that I haven't. So,
We'll have to have a review of that one coming up.
Yeah,
soon.
I have a strong feeling that one actually will get a nom. So, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll get to that in our next topic.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say we're not really gonna talk about our. In fact, Golden Globes, nope, they're not relevant.
Well, I was just gonna say,
They never are.
Looking at the nominees, there's like some of them that were obvious picks, like Belfast, Licorice Pizza. They have. Was it Don't Look Up? Is that the name of it?
of course.
Oh God!
And of course, because it's Adam McKay.
I'm so ready to see that. Like, I don't want
to see it at all.
That's my thing, though. It's like it's one of those movies. It's like Two Girls, One Cup.
You can't help but watch it.
I have a feeling that's more entertaining.
I'm going to.
I'm not
watch
watch
those
it.
girls eat it.
Here's the thing. I'm tired. Kind of just
if
like
it's
with the remake
nominated,
thing.
I will, because I
won't.
I gotta watch all the nominees to see if they deserve it or not.
Look, I'm the whole Adam McKay thing. That was something that was something that came up while we were actually on our 2-week reprieve. But the whole Adam McKay Will Ferrell split kind of came back to the surface, and McKay said some words about how, he wished he would have ended things properly, or, it wouldn't have ended on a bad taste. And, he has nothing but love for Will Ferrell. And I'm like, no, you're a pretentious, what, and you had to go and make these political satire films, The Big Short being of the only ones that I really thought was decent.
Yeah.
And again, it was also because it was kind of new, and it wasn't really comedic as much as it was, it was a dramedy, more so drama.
Yeah.
And yet, at the same time, he tries to replicate that in Vice. Vice fell flat. It didn't have anything that was interesting.
Well,
in
now
it.
he's telling a completely fictional story.
Oh, yeah, and even critics are painting it, saying that it's just grandstanding. It's preaching to the choir, and most of the choir either already believes you or is already in the same boat, or you're just alienating a whole half of an audience that doesn't really care anyway. And ultimately, because your story is a farce, it just kind of proves that you have to stretch even beyond reality to try to make some kind of point about something that isn't.
You know what it is? It's Christian filmmaking, only it's for the cult of the left.
Yes,
it's like,
yes.
It's like when you look at a lot of Christian movies, it's just patting on the back, like yay God, and it's like
God's not dead,
and it's like you're not reaching anybody with these movies. You're just making other Christians feel good about themselves.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing that Adam McKay's doing. It's like you're not reaching anybody with this movie. You're just making a movie that everybody who thinks like you could say, yay, look what we did.
Right. No, that's a perfect point. And we have trashed, trust me, countless times on this show, God's Not Dead, and how terrible those films are.
Movie.
All right, so
all of them.
Yes.
Except for The Passion of the Christ, which
that's
isn't
a good movie.
That's not a
That's a
faith-based
great movie.
That's
well,
that's
hell,
really
and
the only
I'll
one.
even throw Silence out there from
Silence.
Scorsese.
Yeah,
It's a good movie.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like you have the capacity, but again, like you said, they now are getting into religious cult status of we have to be the acolytes. We got to carry this message forward for the future. And Adam McKay sees himself as that. And I'm sorry, he expected to come out with this film, as pretentious as he is, and it be just lauded with praise because of the message that it pushes and because of his satire being tongue-in-cheek and ultimately pointing the finger at, all of us insignificant idiots out there who can't, think for ourselves. We need him to tell us in Hall of Hollywood. So, look, I don't need the grandstanding. I don't need that. Keith, it looks like you're trying to speak up.
I was going to let you finish because it's not quite the same topic. So I didn't want to get into it until you were actually
here.
done.
All I'm going to say is it's funny because we have talked for years about how the Golden Globes are completely irrelevant, and yet at the same time
they suck.
Well, the reason that they're kind of garnering a bunch of hubbub right now is because they had this huge fallout with their diversity claims and not fulfilling those quotas, having 100-member panel that didn't have any person of color on it, and so they made these radical changes.
You know what's funny is looking at these nominated movies though. They made all these radical changes to make it more diverse, but they look like the same type. Like these movies aren't diverse.
No,
West Side Story is like the most
Actually,
diverse.
I would disagree. If you look through the nominations, there are specific nominations in because they're only most or
you only get 5. Yeah,
all the categories have 5 noms.
They have comedy and drama. So
right, but even still, you can tell within the acting categories, within the the drama or the comedy, or whether it's television or a movie, you can tell in certain categories. Oh, well, that's your diverse pick. Oh, that's your serious pick. And here's the thing.
I would agree for some of the smaller categories, but
I
some of the bigger ones.
I agree that the categories have those sprinkled throughout.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I'm not to say that they're not valid.
Overrun by
no, and I wouldn't even say they're not valid. I would say that all the films nominated are ones you would expect to be. Mm-hmm. But it's just like people looking at the Academy Awards. You're only now nominating things that fit a certain kind of agenda. And even films that stand out, even if they win the top prize, it's kind of this sleight of hand that is like, okay, we're going to award this top film the top prize so that we can say, oh, well, that's what we wanted all along, but we still had these diverse picks, so you can't get mad at us. Or you have the diverse categories get mad and say, well, we just haven't won one. So you all really are racist, or you really are sexist, or you really are homophobic. And so then, of course, it pushes the agenda of we got to win a category. And so there's always a token out there. And it's just, to me, it's all just political BS. I'm just like, the Golden Globes have been irrelevant for the last decade. They continue to be. It caught up with them for all the different reasons that we could care less about. It now is not on NBC next year. It won't be airing on there. So you got to think. It's like, okay, what's the point? Yeah. Who really cares?
Nobody. That's why we should probably move on to the next segment. Honestly, what I was going to say a minute ago, though, and it kind of leads into this, because it has something to do with kind of a broken promise. This week is our multimedia segment, and we kind of. I was gonna say we were talking.
I didn't want to bring it up.
We were talking about Christian movies, and I was gonna say I have heard that the Christmas special from The Chosen is really good. About
I've heard the whole series.
Yes,
it was in theaters.
It was in
actually.
theaters,
Yeah.
but it is still just like an hour length episode, and then the rest of the hour in theaters is a bunch of behind the scenes stuff. So it's like a 2 hour run in theaters, but it's just the hour episode and then the behind the scenes stuff. But I have heard it's really good, and I do want to check it out. I mean, I want to check out the whole series, but I've always wanted, like, just like we had Passion of the Christ, I always wanted a really good telling of Jesus' birth. And I know they had like the nativity story like several years ago, but that would
So the one with Oscar Isaac?
It was okay. Was he in that?
Oscar Isaacs was in the Nativity.
I don't remember
Which was
either one of these.
He was Joseph.
Maybe. That would
It
have been
was
before he
good.
was big. I don't know.
Well, all I know is I here's the thing. If it was good, I didn't hear about it. And maybe I'm just not looking, but I'm very particular about certain Christian films and judging them
Risen,
harshly.
man. Risen is one
And
of the best
that's
Christian
one
films
that
I've ever
you've
seen.
touted, and I need to see it.
And The Shack.
I hate
But about his birth, yeah, I agree. There's
Arrival.
not many good movies. Yeah.
But
Arrival's about
moving
Jesus'
right
birth.
along, it's like we don't have a review of The Chosen or their Christmas special.
We're gonna have The Chosen at some point.
Yeah.
When we don't have to do 2 movie
I'm
reviews.
only on episode 5, so
I haven't even watched any of it.
I've watched the first episode.
Here's the thing. Here's what bothers me, and I don't know why, and that's why I'm glad the Christmas special's out now. I don't like that they're telling the story of his life, but it's not in chronological order. It's like they didn't start with his birth, and that just bugs me for some reason. It's like they jump around. I don't like it.
Yeah, but
I want to see him grow up and then die.
Wow. All right.
Wow.
You
In
just
that
put
order.
It, yeah.
Well,
okay.
I mean, if you
Well,
think
it's like-
about
That's-
it, other than his birth, he's born, he's 2 years old, then he's 33.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Like,
what do we
don't-
know?
We don't get it from the Bible, so
I mean, most of you get in Passion is like a story of like him tripping as
yeah,
a
I know.
kid,
Yeah.
and it's like you can assume.
what was he? He
certain
was 8
things.
years old. When
Well,
he
I
was
didn't
at
say I
temple
wanted the
or
story of
Yeah.
his
something like that.
childhood.
That's it.
I want the stories from the Bible that they're telling. I just wanted them in the order that they're presented in
Gotcha.
the Bible.
I need to
But
watch the series.
To be fair though, depending on which book you're reading, like they don't start with this because some of they don't all cover.
She's
his
over
birth,
there. I
so.
can't even
true.
show
The
my
books aren't
dog.
even in
She's got a
chronological order,
damn
so- Yeah.
basket that she's eating.
I don't know.
Just
Is it the
carrying
same
around.
basket that she? Yeah, that's
Yes.
funny. So what are we talking about for multimedia?
Let's get on to another disappointment because it's not really a remake, but it's.
When you say disappointment,
I
we
didn't
haven't
even
seen
watch
it
it.
yet.
I
I don't think it. That looks
We'll
fine
talk.
to me.
We'll talk
We'll
about
see.
it. All right, here's our multimedia segment.
Multimedia.
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 Yeah,
We're talking about Halo.
the
We're
series.
nerds.
The series coming to Paramount.
John
Plus.
117.
Not the video games. the series that's going to be
That's
airing
not
on
in the Bible.
Paramount Plus. And I do understand your gripes, but I actually do think they're 100%.
The reason I
for.
said disappointment was more so because I feel like they've tried this before. In fact, you even alluded to it in our text.
they had
back
a
and
web
forth.
series,
Right.
Forward Unto Dawn,
And so for me, as a
Yeah.
fan of just the games, I'm ultimately thinking to myself, okay, I want to see something now that I know this is going to be on Paramount Plus or any kind of streaming service.
Yeah.
I want to see the same care and devotion that has maybe been given to The Witcher or to
Game of
other
Thrones.
Game of
Yeah.
Thrones.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have the ability and the capacity to do this on a huge scale, and you know it will garner the attention that you're looking for, or even have the possibility to reach those who don't care,
Yeah.
but it interests them enough and piques their interest enough that they'll tune in. And I just felt like it felt fan made.
Yeah.
it felt
it does
like
look
it felt
fan- I'm
cheap.
just now watching it.
Here's the
Yeah.
thing.
and it does.
I've seen.
It looks like Starship
I know
Troopers.
it's weird.
Yeah,
but
it
I've
looks like
seen
Stargate from back in the
tons
early
of people
2000s.
commenting on how good it looks and how high budget it looks, and that's really weird. And that's why I think part of it is the aesthetic they're going for, because that's
No.
what all their stuff is.
This is
You
this
can
is
say no, but a
I'm
lot of
saying-
people are.
yeah, and you know why?
A lot of critics
No.
are like, "Look at how high budget this show is."
It
I think
doesn't
these are-
look that way.
Yeah,
though.
no.
I think these are fans.
No, I
that-
mean these are legit articles, not comments on Facebook. Like actual.
I want to know
We
who.
pull them
I
up?
just want to know from what publications. Because here's the thing.
Okay, we'll pull them up.
This
I don't
this
know
could be the
offhand.
same thing as critics jumping on the Fast and
Yes,
Furious
they are.
bandwagon and saying, "Well, we know it's going to be popular with the kiddos," and they want to just be considered relevant. And then I think it's the same thing from fans' perspective, that they're just happy Halo's coming to the streaming services and can be taken seriously. And it would be the same thing as any Metal Gear fan raving about a Metal Gear movie. But the thing is until you do it right, I'll be the harshest critic because I want it done right. Because the games are so good.
I'm not trying to defend it. I'm just saying that there's been a lot of...
I think they're all just bandwagoning. Because if you... I'm sorry, I'm like Sean.
Hollywood Reporter.
Oh, when I just saw...
Yeah, who cares? They don't know about Halo.
I know, but I'm just saying...
They don't know anything about Halo.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that it has gotten praise for looking high budget, and I think that's funny because we all think it looks like fan-made.
Yeah.
So.
No, there were some of the CG scenes in space. I thought
They look good.
They looked good, high budget. But then when it shows him like land on the planet, and it shows his mask, I'm like, that looks like some crap you can buy on Amazon.
It looks like those cutscenes from the game. Like, this is how I felt about it.
Well,
and I do wonder, like, because that's how all their live action promotional material looks. If maybe that's the aesthetic they're going for, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I understand that looks like that for a web series or for some of the live action ads you've done for the games, because you're not going to put a huge budget into those things.
Right.
Why would you still do that for something that's supposed to be a series on Paramount Plus?
Right. Well, and I honestly think they're not taking it seriously.
No.
They know that whatever they make is going to get fans and it's going to get reactions. For one, it's on Paramount Plus. And yes, that has a great nostalgia trip. We've talked about it on here before. Happy for all the things I can go back and revisit.
Yeah, but it's not huge.
But you're not. This isn't Netflix. This isn't.
It's not even HBO Max.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but HBO is bringing out The Last of Us, and I haven't seen one screen from that. But I already saw who they got to play Ellie and who they got to who is it again? Who's playing Joel?
Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, there's a great chance that they could nail those characters. And knowing HBO's track record, they fail very rarely, especially when they're willing to invest the time and the effort in getting it right. And knowing that Neil Druckmann is also at the head of that series, who was at the head of the games, I have way more faith that when that finally reveals itself, it's going to be in far better shape and bring a lot more people under the banner of interest into seeing it than this Halo series. This Halo thing just seems like just literally made for fans to garner their attention, to get them to spend time on the platform.
I'll watch it because I like Halo and I'm curious to see what it's like. But it is one of those things where, and the same thing with any video game adaptation too. Not only does it not look that good, but you always wonder, like, what story are they going to tell? Are they going to just repeat the game story, or are they going to tell a new original story? Because you've seen both. Sometimes they try to tell a completely new story set within the world, and sometimes they just do a carbon copy of the game, and it's like,
yeah. Well, and especially with Halo and as much lore as it has, they could do something. They could have done something that had nothing to do with Master Chief.
Yeah.
But then they would have feared that, oh gosh, if we don't,
well,
then we're not going to draw enough people.
That's another thing, is because I have seen fans, and I haven't really listened to it enough or looked to see who the voice actors are, but there's already fans complaining that Cortana doesn't sound like Cortana, and that, well, we don't know how Master Chief sounds. He hasn't spoken in the trailer yet. So, and
if he's not the same voice actor,
I think Steve
funny.
Knowles.
I'm reading through the tweet of the trailer when Paramount tweeted it out. There's like 6,000 something replies or whatever, and I'm reading through them, and one of them actually says the biggest barrier is Paramount Plus instead of going to one of the larger, more dominant services like Netflix, Prime, or Disney.
Yeah, and they probably didn't have the offer.
Well,
sadly,
it's being produced by Showtime.
It says that they stole it from Showtime in 2013. Or no, earlier this year, but it's been in development since 2013.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
because I think that's going to be the same way with the Metal Gear movie. And hell, I dissed on the Uncharted trailer that has Tom Holland in it and Marky
that doesn't
Mark.
look good either.
And I'm just like, all it does is look like you're trying to appease. You're just kowtowing to the freaking fans that are already fans of the series. And I'm sorry, one of my buddies, Jeff, growing up, he said it best. He said, why would I want to watch something that I could play and get a better experience out of? And that, to me, is what you have to transcend beyond if you're going to make a movie or a TV show out of something. Mm-hmm. And to me, Halo is definitely one of those. It's a first-person shooter. You are Master Chief. So for me to have to take an outside perspective and follow that character, that's the other thing. I hate when all that seems to do is try to check off all the boxes that they think their fans are going to look for and that they're going to want. And to me, I'm like, when I go to watch a series or a movie, especially based on something that I'm a fan of, I want to see enough of a difference there from what I remember or what I know that it makes it seem not only realistic, but it also makes it approachable to a degree that I'm like, okay, this is something that blew my expectations. I wasn't expecting this, and now I'm completely open to more, and I want more, and I want to consume it. And that's, I'm just not I'm not seeing that when I look at the trailer for this.
It does say, and again, maybe she just sounds off in the trailer, but it does say Jen Taylor is voicing Cortana, and that's who voices her in the games. It doesn't say anything about Master Chief's voice, only that Pablo Schreiber is playing him, who he's been I don't know him, but apparently he's kind of an up-and-comer, so it's one of those things where I wonder, it's like I could see them not use...
Sean,
this tweet just says all 6 people with Paramount Plus are going to love this.
Yes.
That's what I hate.
But I have a feeling
when
that
I saw that.
if they hired someone who's kind of an up-and-coming popular actor to play Master Chief, they'll probably just go stick with his voice.
The consensus among just scrolling through these comments. Everybody has a problem with the way Chief's costume looks. Everybody is saying like everything looked good until it showed Master Chief, and something is just off with his armor. It's lower quality compared to the rest of the trailer.
Yeah.
Well, because it literally looks like it was
plastic
3D.
Yes,
it looks 3D printed. And plus, I'm like, whether they add little scratches or they add little details that make it look more rugged, and you add a filter or something.
That's what is really missing is texture. It looks like a video game. It doesn't look like real armor, and it's like, okay, if he's really battle worn and like this badass who's been sent to all these fights, he would have armor that's scratched up, dented, that has texture. It wouldn't just be this smooth plastic.
And that's the
looking
problem
armor.
when you're bringing a game to life in a game world when everything is completely generated from the ground up, and it all has a cohesion. And trust me, there's games I've played that don't have that cohesion, and you can tell. But when you've made a really highly produced game and everything looks like it fits together in that world, that's art direction. That's beautifully bringing everything together. And in Halo, it's like that may look okay for a video game, but when you're bringing it into live action real world, it's not like we're watching a CG series. You need to add that authentic, realistic aspect of what it would be like in real life. And I'm sorry, but we've all seen the old 80s. I mean, hell, I remember VR Troopers or, Captain Power from back in the day. And I mean, like old school. And I'm like, you can tell they're just cheap plastic molds that were made to fit on a certain person.
Yeah.
And they try to make it, appear as armor, but ultimately it just doesn't do the job. It doesn't do it justice. And I'm sorry, but when you're going to go to a big budget franchise or try to sell it as a big budget franchise, those are the details that matter. Those are what the fans are looking for.
So Steve Downs. I said Steve Knowles, who's a different actor, but Steve Downs is the voice of Master Chief, and it does look like he's not going to be voicing. Like they're going to use the actual actor's voice, which makes sense since they hired, like I said, more of an up and coming.
That's going to piss people off.
But I think that will, make a lot of people mad.
What if you end up with a Darth Vader situation?
You could. Yeah. I mean, they could.
Let's go get him, Cortana. I mean, I'm just sorry. When you have an icon, I mean, it was the same reason MGS fans were still pissed that I don't care that you got Jack Bauer. I want David Hayter. I know Jack Bauer's a character name, but still, it's like, come on, don't give me Kiefer. I want David Hayter as Snake. He's always been Snake. Why are you changing it up now? Oh, well, it matters in the plot. No, it doesn't. You just wanted to get an A-list actor to draw attention. But nobody cared at that point. It's MGS 5. It's the same with Halo. Halo is this. Master Chief is that actor. Yeah. They need to keep it. Well, especially if the guy's face is covered.
It's something that here's the thing.
If they freaking reveal it,
I think
they're going to.
Yeah, they're not going to leave his helmet on the whole time.
No. That's BS.
And I think it is BS because you've never seen his face before in the
games. You can't have the show be that definitive.
Oh yeah, and he'll be black.
Well, he's Hispanic.
Well, he'll be
Pablo
black.
Schreiber.
I'm just saying in the show.
Man, that means 2 masked men are Hispanic. You got the Mandalorian as Pedro Pascal, and then this guy.
Yeah.
All our space pirates out there are Hispanic. They're all from down south.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
I don't know. I'm not looking forward to it. I'll watch it. I'll check it out.
I'm not subscribing. I'll just wait to get it by other means.
Well, I mean, I don't subscribe. I use a family account.
There you go. There ain't nothing wrong with that. That's just sharing the love. That's all that is.
So yeah.
I'm not looking forward to it.
I'm looking at the cast, and I'm just not
impressed. See, I told you.
I don't know any of these people.
No.
And it's like, and for something this big name,
I know
like,
the guy that what's his name? Kokeem or Kohim? What's his name?
Who is that? Who in the character is it?
I can't think of the guy's name that's playing him, but I thought
is it like a soldier?
Oh, I don't know if Kohim.
I don't know what the hell his name is.
We have Captain Keys.
Captain Keys, yeah.
I don't know what the hell.
And then
He's
there's
important.
Sergeant Johnson. Yeah.
The Flood. I mean, see, that's the thing. That's where you.
Well, those are the only other like really human. There's I forget the guy that Ron Perlman voiced.
Did
in
they?
the
Did they?
games.
I can't remember now.
Bokeem, isn't that his name?
No, I don't remember. No, Bokeem.
Not. You're talking about the Arbiter. He didn't do the Arbiter.
Fuck, I'm talking about.
No.
But hold on.
This
But
guy. Who's he playing?
show a picture
I guess Sergeant Johnson because that's the only black guy in the games.
or Keys.
Keys isn't black, but he could be. Yeah,
What? I thought
they
Captain Keys. Oh no.
The Commander
okay,
Commander
yeah,
Keys.
that's it.
And
I don't know. I'm gonna have to Google it.
That's right, because Keys, the girl, is the daughter in the
that's
second
Cap.
game.
Yeah. Miranda Keys is Captain. Jacob
is-
Keys is Commander. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, we'll see when it comes out.
That's the actor's name.
His
is
name,
Bokeem.
Bokeem.
Yeah, the actor's name is Bokeem
Yeah, that's what I'm
Woodbine.
thinking of.
He's playing Soren 066. So he's a Spartan.
Okay,
If it's Soren 066.
gotcha.
See, Keith knows his Halo lore.
See, I
He's
don't.
on a lot
I've
of-
never had.
Well, they all have
I've
number
never had-
designations like that because
Yeah.
Master Chief is John 117.
The next thing you know,
Mm-hmm.
Master Chief 007 removes his helmet, and there is Daniel Craig. He's back. He's playing Spartan 007. Alrighty, guys. That's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon
Danny
Podcast.
Sapani is
Sapani?
I was gonna
is
look
Captain
up
Jake. I don't know who that is.
117 real quick. And see
Well,
what that
that's the other
says.
thing I couldn't tell. Did they even show?
You think that would be
Covenant?
117 or 11?
I don't think they have shown the Covenant in the trailer.
I think
at
it's
all.
they call it John 117.
All right. Well, we're gonna do.
There's a hyphen. It's John hyphen 117.
Yeah, they don't say like 117 or 11.
No, they say 117
Yeah.
in the games.
But it's like I do want to know. Like,
No, I was actually
the
looking that
Covenant-
up in the Bible real quick.
what
They
that
don't
verse
even
is.
like.
But they don't show the Covenant or the Flood or nothing in the trailer.
They
They
don't-
just show all the space.
They
stuff.
don't show the Covenant. They don't show the Flood. And then I'm looking at the cast, and no one's listed as vocal work for.
And,
Which,
and here's the thing:
for
they
these
may be
characters.
keeping that secret.
They might, but
And
I mean
that would be understandable.
And I mean, I don't expect, but I don't know because I mean, I don't expect them to reveal like everything all at once. But I mean, you would think that there still should be a few key Covenant characters that you're going to follow as the main villains. Like, I hope they just don't make them faceless villains that they're just butchering because then it's like there's no interest there. It's like
I know.
Because
That
even
kind of
like
defeats the purpose
I
of
say
what.
even the
It's
games.
like the very beginning of Halo.
Yeah.
The first one. It's
No,
just,
no.
It's just the Covenant.
But I mean, I like that.
But
because
then you
you're thrown in
understand. You
because-
also understand what the Covenant. You learn through the game what the
Yeah.
Covenant or what their purpose
and they
is.
do
Yeah,
have
yeah,
key
yeah.
figures, and I mean, you have like the prophets, and
Well, that's how the whole second game, the Arbiter, and
Tartarus
yeah,
and the Arbiter. I mean, there are key characters on the
Prophet
Covenant
of
side.
Truth, and
yeah.
I mean, the Halo games are great, and
Some of the
I'll nerd out over it.
at least
if-
the original 3's lore, 343, which is also who's in charge of the show, kind of dropped the ball with the neutral. I mean, they started off great with Halo 4, and then Halo 5 just kind of So I don't know how Infinite's been. I've not played it, but I will say the original lore from Bungie with the original 3 I loved.
But here, you know what you could do?
Yeah.
If you're looking forward to it, you could email us. And
You
let us
could.
know. Are you wanting to watch the new Halo series coming out on Paramount Plus? My dog's tearing
What?
up something.
You
We
know
got
they-
to get done with this
Yeah, it
show.
sounded like
We started late,
She's
so we
eating
carried
that-
on with
she's
our
eating
normal.
that basket.
Sounded
She
like
is.
damage being done. That's what
It
sounded like.
always is.
The
I
only
never
thing-
know
the only
walking
thing
out
on
of this
Paramount
room.
Plus that I've really been interested in is the South Park stuff because they have the contract with South Park now.
I only
so.
care about
No.
seeing old shows. That's it. And I care about viewers.
I was about to say wrestling, but that's actually on Peacock.
Yeah, that's Peacock,
That clip,
NBC.
I found a clip the other day of The Rock and
You were
Ronda
fanning
Rousey,
hard,
and
yeah.
it was great. I was like, it made me because it was all the old wrestlers with Ronda Rousey, so I was like, this is great. It was hilarious. It had Triple H and The Rock, and
See, the sad thing is that's not that long ago.
No,
that's not even like
this
the
is
attitude.
that was
era.
let's say this was
Yeah.
new. This was new, but I liked it because they still had because it was The Rock and Triple H and what's her name McMahon that Triple H is married to because it was them from the Attitude Era with Ronda Rousey. It was hilarious and because they acted like they did back then, but you know.
Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast.
Yeah.
Like it's right there at the bottom of the screen, right there. Email. Hey, we have one this episode. That works. Something works this episode. That's what we should have played at
That
the
was
beginning.
at the beginning, yeah.
Alrighty, guys, we will be back though again
what are we
for our
rev-
Christmas episode next week.
Yeah, what are we reviewing?
We are
Oh,
reviewing
want to know.
What are we reviewing?
Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Yeah.
which we're gonna go see
Man,
Friday.
I've been
Get
dodging
ready.
stuff on. They
I hate the
premiere-
freaking.
I know.
the premiere happened last night,
Yep.
and they've been posting things like crazy.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
Freaking okay. GameStop or GameSpot. GameSpot.
They post spoilers in the headlines.
Freaking.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they'll put
Yep.
in the headlines. Don't freaking even put a review score.
Yeah.
They put their review score right. I will say at least IGN got this right. And the fact that we have gaming websites now reviewing movies,
I
you
know.
got to be careful with this crap.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go see a gaming score and they don't care. It kind of gives you an idea of what to buy. Everybody's going to go see this freaking movie.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't put a damn review score in the top corner on your front page. It gives influence.
Especially
Don't
before
freaking
the
do it. I don't want to know nothing.
Actually, especially before the actual wide release too.
Yes.
It's like the wide release isn't until this Friday, and you're already
Like
posting
what I hate
spoilers
is
everywhere.
they'll put the damn score on there and then they'll say spoiler-free review. You just spoiled the damn your
just
opinion of the
spoiled it.
movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to know your opinion at all.
I haven't even been looking at my Feedly or any
Yeah,
of
you
that
gotta-
stuff
you gotta
because
dodge
I'm
it.
afraid that I'll see something.
I haven't been reading anything. I just if it's an image of Spider-Man, I scroll past it.
right
I'm
past
like,
it.
oh,
Yep.
Yep. Oh, I've been trying to do the exact same. Same.
it's annoying.
Whoa.
Oh, and
What are you doing?
Uh-oh.
we got on a
This crap just
we
popped
got on
up.
a rant about Spider-Man, but our Christmas review is Krampus, so
Yes,
we'll be
that-
reviewing that too.
Yeah.
We will be indeed. We will be. That's kind of the movie that we've been looking forward to. I think out of the
Well, I
ones.
think that's the
Frosty.
only like hot. Well, I
That's
mean
the one
Jack
I'm looking
Frost,
for.
yeah.
Jack Frost, yeah.
But Krampus is the actual like only like A-list. Like it's not a B movie. It's actually a higher budget movie. So
Right.
now whether it's good or not, we still don't know. But we're hoping, you know.
Is it like Jeepers Creepers quality or?
Well, no, it's supposed to be like a legitimate like horror comedy.
Jamaican. I
Okay.
thought he was
I've never
saying
seen it.
Jamaican.
I've never seen it.
No, it's
so-
supposed to be funny, like with like that dark twist. Like it's a horror comedy, but
Yeah.
like when it came out, it did decently. So I mean, I don't know if it's good or not, but it did do decent when it released.
But it'll be our Christmas episode. We're hoping things will be work in order next week.
hey,
You can only do so much.
here's the thing.
You know,
I'm gonna watch it. I know
We
like,
try. We
no
try.
no horror comedy is going to outbeat Gremlins as the top,
No.
Christmas. But if it comes close, we'll see.
we'll see. Alrighty, guys. But right there at the bottom of your screen, also our social: like, share, subscribe. Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Pics. And search for Red Moon Productions.
King Kong ain't got nothing on Keith.
No, I just do it again, Keith.
Sometimes
He's
I'm
beating
not
his
hyped
chest.
now.
Dang
I do that when I
it.
burn off energy. I used to do
I
that in
missed
the cubicle
it.
at work because I couldn't make noises and now when I'm home I make noises. I don't have to do that no more. I just
Oh, wow.
I will.
Yeah.
I'll be
Here
doing a
comes the
task
dog.
at
The
work.
dog
Edie.
just came running.
Yeah, I'll be
She
doing
heard
it.
it.
I would do a task at work, and if I accomplished it, and I thought I did like really awesome at it, I'd get excited and just be like in my cubicle.
Do
And
you
nobody saw me.
Do you start out with
Maybe they did. I don't care.
Cameras did.
No, I don't do that. I don't do that. But now I work from home.
Now I want to watch that
So
movie.
now when I do stuff at home, I'm just like, woo, woo. I make weird noises at home now.
Scare the
Oh,
dog.
hell yeah.
I couldn't do that at
Absolutely.
work,
You just
so.
let it out. I let it
Yeah.
out all the time. When I get in the shower, just scared.
Like, yeah.
Alrighty, guys.
Yeah.
That's it for this episode.
know, we're dragging on
done.
for no reason
We
now.
are. We're done. All right, guys. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We will see y'all next week. Same time, same place. Live Tuesdays, 9 p.m. right here on Facebook and YouTube.
9, not 9:15.
Yeah. We'll be on time next week. Until then, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
Me.
that's it.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.